Hi, aloha, Adam.
Hello,
You're here too.
I'm here too.
How long have you been here? You've been here forever.
Well, as we contemplate the meaning of existence, I suppose it's possible that I've just always been.
Exactly what we've been doing for the last year and a half.
What do we do now?
All right, this is when I welcome you to the Wildcat Well. This is the Theater Crude YouTube series where we talk to previous festival participants and see what they've been up to. So, welcome to the show.
Hey.
You are before the other,
Thanks.
and you were here in 2019 in Oklahoma City, and it was a lot of fun, and it was great to have you here. But what have you been doing since then?
Living through a pandemic, yeah? Yeah, good.
Some days we were on the floor, and some days we were standing up. Some days we were at the window. Some days we were outside.
And most of it with a mask on. Yeah.
Most of it.
All
of it.
Sure. What have we been doing since we've been there? Well, I mean, the pandemic, we had to do what kind of all of us have, I think, or most of us have done, and that is either decide to not do our work or transition it online. And so it's been a learning process, Malia Kaki has been like the sort of the heart and the motor of trying to figure out how to do this online. So she could probably talk more about that. I just stand in the corner and, hit myself in the head a lot and see if somebody laughs, with a mask on. So.
Like, it's kind of partially true, but not fully true. Yeah, I think I had said it earlier, but part of our pandemic experience was letting ourselves settle and grieve all that was happening, and then understanding how we want to reemerge and really take the opportunity to go, what can we offer? The namesake of our company is Before the Other, because we believe in the service of being for someone else and generosity. And so for us, we're like, what does our community need right now? How can we be of service to them? And how can we be of service to ourselves? Like, what do we need in this moment that felt really heavy sometimes, and that also felt really spacious other times, that felt really guilty to admit, if that makes sense. And so we are a devised theater company. We teach play and vulnerability, as you know, because we had the opportunity to do it at Theater Crude, which was amazing. And we loved Oklahoma City. And so figuring out, how do we take devised theater and physical theater? How do we take play? How do we take the playground and move it to an online platform? And usually we jump rope in person. And a silver lining has been not being able to use the jump rope in some way, because it meant that we really had to become crystal clear on exactly what play is and how do we offer it in the little boxes. How do we make this space feel playful? And so we created a 7-week course for adults called Pedagogy of Play, Options and Opportunities. We've had about 20 folks come through, 2 of them from Oklahoma City, that we met during our time at the festival. And yeah, we've been playing with people across the country online, trying to understand the feelings that we feel while inside of play, giving an experience of play that could be thought-provoking and still physical. We've been building a lot of forts on Zoom. Yeah, and we've been teaching online now, which has been actually pretty fun to kind of poke at, how do we make this space playful? How do we liberate ourselves from the mute button and just be okay that like the kids are going to pass through, the ambulance is going to run down the street, like it's all okay.
So how does that class sort of work out then? Do you suggest activities and people are allowed to play along?
Excuse me.
Chris, I'm going to pass it to you now. Now
You
you
bet.
talk.
You bet. Well, it's interesting because we so we were there in fall 2019,
Mm-hmm.
20. So for I guess the 4 or 5 months before lockdown happened for all of us, life was pretty rocky. We were setting roots up here in Massachusetts at the time. I think when we came to Oklahoma City, we hadn't fully sort of put the roots in here. So we came back here and started doing that, and there was a lot of ups and downs through that process. And then, bam, March hit and everything shut down. So I think we spent a lot of time trying to really figure out how to bridge the gap because of how much I don't know, validity we put on sort of in-person activity, the activity of play. As you know, you've taken the workshops or the shows or whatever we want to call them, right? Where people are up on their feet and they're doing things and they're talking about it and they're feeling stuff. And what we realized is we could really start to find other ways to investigate the feelings of play. So we started to structure this 7-week course that there were instead of pillars, we call them buoys, because we believe the world is not so rooted and cemented that it's movable, and therefore we started to get this imagery of the ocean and how it's always moving, and that instead of pillars or something set, that in play as things move and adjust and change, and we never really know where it's going to be from here to there, that we would kind of call these, I don't know, these landmarks buoys so that they can move around a little bit. And so the 7-week course, we go through these 7 buoys that we believe bring us to the feelings of play. And so between each buoy is a week, and yeah, we call them play opportunities. They're opportunities that, very similar to what we had when we were kids, on the playground, or, hanging out with cousins for the weekend, where one week is maybe building forts and another week is, trying to find and dress up as your superhero with your superpower. And so we give adults many who have been completely struggling with how to stay light and buoyant in these crazy heavy times, the opportunity to maybe find that again, and find the feelings that type of life as children evoked, and find their hearts again. So
And in that search, also find where your blocks are,
yeah,
right?
a lot
Because
of that.
they're pretty unavoidable. So it's also very much about looking at maybe what feels stuck too, and can you look with curiosity as opposed to make it mean something true about you? Like, are you identifying with the resistance, or can it just simply be a resistance? And so whether these folks take the weekly play opportunities or not, both of that, the investigation, whether you did it and how did you integrate that into your life, or you didn't do it and what got in the way, the investigation to both is extremely fruitful, as well as can you investigate it and be witnessed in community, because we believe play happens with someone else, right? We could see ourselves best in the eyes of the other, very much like on the playground. And so
And very much like on the stage.
yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
not
we're
too
building an ensemble with no play. no scripted play, but a lot of play.
I mean, I noticed even when you guys were down in 2019 in Oklahoma City, trying to encourage people on the importance of play. It seemed like you were struggling to reach people even then. Has it been harder to encourage people that play is important once even more stress and life changed? Or did that help some people open up?
It's a great question, Adam. The struggle is still real. And it's also not in a lot of ways. I think that when the pandemic happens, people really started understanding the importance of self-care, the importance of community, the importance of activity and play in that way. And so I think that there's a lot of folks that did have a moment to wake up and say, oh yeah, this is something I now need. Or that I now want to bring back into my life, right? Because we all essentially know how to play. Really, it's, are you doing it consciously and mindfully? And are you letting it come to you as opposed to forcing it? And then also society, like in our society, we still give weight and importance to being stressed and tired. Because that must mean that you're the most successful person in the room if you're feeling that way. And so there's a great quote that Stuart Brown says, which we use, which he says, the opposite of play is not work. The opposite of play is depression. So sometimes it takes getting to depression to understand the importance.
Yeah, I would say I mean, it certainly gave us time to really consider what we were offering, which is a good thing for anybody.
Yes.
We certainly have 12, 15 months, 2 years later, have even more clarity about what we feel is important about what we do and how to offer it. Because I think putting it online can only help us when we transfer back or we go to as well in person workshops, classes, productions,
Retreats.
I think what's been interesting, because before we basically had one major client before we had to consider this venue, and that was educational institutions. And when we came to you all, we had done we had also done the Fringe Festival in Rhode Island, Providence, and so both Theater Crudes Festival and the PVD Festival for us were again jumping off points into trying to offer what we do in a different way. You know, can it be educational, performative, on your feet? Like, can we marry all of these ways of investigation or exploration? Yeah, which we will forever be grateful for, to have that opportunity, because I think it's a risk, certainly. But then, so most of before that, our venues were educational institutions, be it colleges, universities, high schools, because there was a clarity of application of what we were bringing to the table. It wasn't just a show or a performance. It was a state of mind. It was a freedom, sort of a built-in investigation of freedoms and identity that we all have been through with this sort of this arena of play that we offer. So it made sense theatrically or in an educational setting for artists or artist teachers. So then to have this happen, everything closed down, offering it online, we've had, I'd say, at least half of our groups, people coming aren't necessarily artists. They come from different backgrounds, and now because of the clarity and sort of documenting these ideas and finding more of a system, we're now getting starting to get clients who are from the business community, for instance, who would like to shake up and sort of recreate a new language through experience with their administrative staff or their executive board. So that, and I think having to go online has somehow facilitated that shift for what we're offering. And I think it's something we want too. We've definitely wanted to do that, because I think teachers and artists are kind of our most difficult audience in a way, because they do play in this realm quite a bit. They work with play, but it's usually play for a product as opposed to what we're offering, which is play for the process and how it can instill a richer, fuller life. Whereas the business community sees the value in that, not necessarily in product. So it just feels like another step in the evolution of this play thing. But I do think I've had more conversations this past year about the benefits and the need for it, for sure. Not that all those people are like, knocking on our door and jumping in, right? But because it's still really scary for people. It's scary for adults to say, I'm going to take 2 hours and play. I'm not always sure why, but
especially when we
risky.
expect our children to do it by themselves for at least hours on end, and yet if it's not modeled, right? Like where are they going to say, okay, I can do this from?
Yeah.
I also forgot to mention that I've been going to grad school this past year.
There's that, yes.
I forgot about that.
Forgot about grad school.
I know.
Oh my.
But it has very much connection with the business. I did the inaugural program of Mindful NYU, which is a branch of New York University, in collaboration with Sounds True, LinkedIn, and Wisdom 2.0. And in June, in 1 month, I'll have a degree of an inner MBA, which is in conscious leadership and mindful sustainability in business practices, which has really, again, started opening up that avenue for us to bring play to corporate offices, which we're just thrilled about.
That's very
He
nice.
does the math.
She does the math.
No, we still need Jenny to do the math.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, but
Jenny!
you've learned the corporate language. You understand that other world of speak and how that functions.
I'm still getting there, because I'm quite fruity, because that's naturally how I speak. But I'm learning that the business language is like the most simplest way in. Like, oh, this will help you listen. They're like, what? They're like, yeah, listening, feedback, collaboration. It's like those words that I think are like not fun or exciting are like really fun and exciting to bring in. So that's what I'm learning.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Christopher, have you gone back to school? Did you forget you went back to grad school? Is that?
No, I did not. We also have 2 children, a 6-year-old and 11-year-old, and so I funny because we had planned to start them going back to school. So we had applied to the schools and registered and did all that thing, and then
they were homeschooled before. They had never been to school.
Yeah, they'd never been to school.
That's what's
before.
Important to know.
So then the pandemic hit, and all the schools closed down. So right when I thought we were going to start going out and teaching again, that couldn't happen because one of us needed to be home with the kids, and I did that the majority of the time, probably, at least during the day. So no, I didn't go back.
But it was almost a perfect transition for the kids, though, who had never been to school before, is that they got to first go to a virtual classroom and still be at home. And then they got to go into school just 2 days a week. They were doing hybrid, which was perfect because they were like, school's great. What day do we go to school? We were like, yes, yes. And then maybe just a month ago, the schools opened back full time. And so now they're in school
Yeah.
5 days a week. So in a way, they got a really sweet deal to like ease themselves on into the education system
Yeah.
and all that it is.
I brushed up on my, my crock pot cooking.
Those are good skills to have.
They really are. They really
Really.
are.
I keep forgetting that we have a crock pot. It just gets stuck back in the cupboard there.
I take it out like every 2 to 3 weeks and make a soup, lasts forever.
He's like a soup master.
Do you have a favorite soup, an award-winning soup in the house?
I think I might. It's a split pea, green split pea soup. Yeah.
That's part of how Chris plays, though, is that he'll go in the kitchen and he'll take out a bunch of ingredients, and that's part of his play. Is he plays with food, which is wonderful. And when he makes something really tasty, I'm like, "What did you do? Can you recreate this?" Almost always, he's like, "No, I don't know what I was doing. I was just playing with it."
I don't write it down. Maybe I should go back to school so I learn better technique or the skills of learning. I don't retain a lot.
You just got to set up the video cameras so that as
Yeah.
you are then
True.
afterwards, oh, that was great. What did I do? You can examine the footage.
Yeah.
Like they say on all those cop shows, where's the security footage?
That's right. Where's the pod? Where's the pod? Get the pod footage. I just got to put a pod in my kitchen. Yeah. I don't think I'd have the patience to watch me cook.
I would.
Joke.
I would do that.
That was a joke. Yeah. So now we're here. So now we're trying to figure out, okay, do we start doing this in person again? And, I don't think we throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think, now we hybrid, like we all hybrid, right? Like you guys, right? It's got to be we definitely want to go back to doing retreats where we've been looking at property, acreage to set up sort of campsites and be able to bring people in and retreats and stuff like that. As well as, is actual production building part of our mission, or or are we just spreading the word of play, so we're kind of in that place with stepping back into the world, I guess, and people playing with us. So
yeah, those are tough choices to make. With the what's next is always,
as you know, yeah.
But what's awesome about it, though, is that no matter what is next, it's going to change anyway. Like it's always changing. There's never any certainty, really. I find that comforting in some way.
Yeah, it is pretty nice. I remember back when I was a stagehand,
Mhm.
before a show would start, the stage manager would say something like, "Oh, are you ready?" And my response would always be, "No, but we're going to start anyway."
We got, yeah. Sure.
I don't know what's going to go wrong tonight, but
Yeah.
it'll
Yeah.
happen or it won't. Let's go.
Well, that would be my favorite thing in live theater is when something would go wrong, because I feel like that's really when the artistry shows up. It's who can forget their line or spill a drink and continue on, right? Like the recovery, that's the best part of live theater for me, at least.
Well, it's an interesting thought to think that like the world at large has kind of had a firsthand experience with that feeling now. Most people are now like, what's coming next? I don't know. We're all improvising, right? It's like we're just all playing. What are you doing daily? What are you doing? No, you're not brushing your teeth. You're considering, moving, right? I can see it in your eyes, like everyone's now got an experience with it. So
I'm making this too big. Do you have a theater experience that is stuck with, I guess it's the shortest version of that question?
Yeah.
And are you
Like
willing to share
changed,
it?
that like changed my life, a theater experience that changed everything, or that I can always kind of recall that
Just one
meant
that
something.
you can always recall would be great. It doesn't necessarily need to be
Certainly.
life-changing, but
I do.
Oh, it's always life-changing, Adam.
Yeah, no, when I was I want to say I was 22. I was lucky enough to be part of a touring company, and we worked quite a bit over in Europe, and we got to bring a couple shows to Edinburgh. And I think anybody, especially when they're young, but I think at any age, if they get a chance to go to the festival over there, it's mind blowing, for most people. But the first time I went, I got to go see two shows actually in the same venue. It was like the biggest venue in the city. The first one was the premiere of Train Spotting on stage before it was a movie, and it was brilliant. It was dirty and minimal and just just heart wrenching. And that was wonderful. And then like 2 nights later, I went to the same theater and I saw Slava's SnowShow.
Oh, Slava SnowShow.
Have you seen Slava SnowShow? Okay, you gotta like get on YouTube, Google some Slava SnowShow. We're gonna send you some links. Okay, and it's basically a one-man show. There's a couple other clowns in it, but it's I don't know how, like it made me cry, laugh, want to stand up and scream. I wanted to charge the stage. I wanted to run into the streets screaming naked. Like, it was one of those shows that will ever be in my mind as the epitome of a theatrical, cathartic, transcending experience. It's always been there.
brilliant.
Yeah. You got to see some of it.
I
You're going to want to too. You're going to want to run out in the street naked, screaming, lighting your hair on fire. Wait. Yeah.
I'll get a wig. I'll light the wig on fire.
Yeah. You're going to want it. I know it. I did. Do you, Malika Kia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the
But I'm not going to tell you.
it's hard to say anything after Slava SnowShow. Truly,
Sorry,
I had the
sorry.
privilege of seeing it in New York City with the boys and Christopher. I want to say right before shutdown happened.
Yeah, it was in January or something like that.
And it was pretty life altering for all of us. So I'll say that. Two experiences come to mind for me. The first was I also had a touring experience where I was working with a small Argentine theater company, and we would go tour around South America and Asia, and we would bring the English language through theater to places of like, not non-English speaking countries, and mostly with children, even though sometimes we would be in colleges. And I did that 3 times. For 2 of those times, I was the only female on the tour, and certainly I was almost always the first Hawaiian that these people had ever met. So it felt like such a big privilege and honor, and I was always really humbled to like play with these children in a different language, trying to get them to speak English, but really I just wanted to play rock, paper, scissors with them because that's what would make them happy. And then we'd start talking English, but like playing rock, paper, scissors in every country I could, because it was just so connecting and so clear. And to be the first, like a representation for children in this way felt really impactful for me. It was bigger than doing a show. It was like, again, very experience-based. But then me being inside of a show that actually changed my life was doing A Midsummer Night's Dream with Christopher was directing it. We were doing it with a group of folks. I want to say there was 9 of us, and for 3 weeks it was like a 24-hour rehearsal. It was all devised. It was bananas, and hard and amazing, and stretched myself to like things I didn't know I could be or do. And we ended up choosing to not perform the show. We ended up choosing to continue to play with it in a way that felt like it was just for us. And there's a lot of other moving pieces to that too, of course. But having the choice, it was the first time I felt like as an actor, I actually had choice over how I wanted to be seen, truly, and was heard and seen and felt by someone who is the authority, who at that time was Christopher. That was also pretty life-changing.
How can people find you? How can people find Before the Other and experience play?
Heard, felt. You can go to our website, www.beforetheother.com. It's a B and then the number 4. And we have on the website, there's registration for the 7-week course. And if you just want like a little taster of the work, we also offer monthly pop-ups. So POP is pedagogy of play, so monthly pop-ups. We have a pop-up coming out in May. It's Tuesday, May 25th from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. And it's with play-filled parenting. And then we have another one on June 22nd that we're thinking about doing play and failure. I know it doesn't sound like the best time, but it really is. And these are just workshops that are like tip of the iceberg workshops that are really just a taste of the work. And they're offered by a donation base. So it's really give from the heart to come and experience a little taste of play.
Great. We'll have all of that information down in the description below the video.
Awesome. Mahalo.
Thanks for joining me. And
Thank you.
I'll see you again after Zoom cuts us off. But for everyone else watching on YouTube, bye.
Bye. Mahalo. Bye.
Do you edit these at all?
I do
Oh,
pull out a
that's
little bit of the awkward pauses because I'm not the best interviewer in the world. So I like to hide that a little bit.